Welcome to Everyday English with Annie.
Oh, it's so great to be here.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you. And to you listening, whether you are using this deep dive as English listening practice or you're just, insanely curious about the biological and psychological secrets of human longevity, you are absolutely in the right place.
You really are.
Today we are exploring this book. It's called Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francesca Morel.
Right. It's a huge topic right now.
It is. And our mission today is to answer one big, maybe slightly controversial question. Is Ikigai overrated?
That is the question, isn't it?
I mean, if you look at LinkedIn today, Ikigai is marketed as this ultimate corporate buzzword, right? It's almost always presented as this highly stressful four-circle Venn diagram.
Oh, yeah, the famous Venn diagram.
Right. And it's supposed to be this tool to help you find some lucrative dream job that magically combines like what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and most importantly for LinkedIn, what pays a massive salary.
Exactly. It's so much pressure.
But if you travel to a tiny Japanese village with the longest living people on Earth, you won't find a single person chasing a corner office. So is our modern obsession with this concept just entirely missing the point?
I love that we are tackling this. And to you, the listener, welcome. We are going to strip away all that corporate hype today.
Please do.
I can promise that by the end of this deep dive, you'll walk away with a grounded, highly practical toolkit for finding deep meaning in your actual daily routine. And you won't even need to quit your job or launch a tech startup to do it.
I am so ready for that because, the Western interpretation of Ikigai always felt like so much pressure.
Oh, totally.
Like if you don't find the dead center of that Venn diagram, you're somehow just failing at life. So to figure out if it's overrated, take us to the source. Where are people actually practicing this successfully?
Well, the best place to look is Okinawa, Japan. The authors of our source material focus specifically on a rural town there called Ogimi.
Okay. How big is Ogimi?
It's tiny, actually.
Yeah.
It has a population of just about 3,000 people.
Wow, just 3,000.
Yeah. But it is known globally as the Village of Longevity. To put their success into perspective, Okinawans have 24.55 centenarians. So that's people over 100 years old for every 100,000 people.
That is wild.
It drastically outpaces the global average.
So a whole village where living to 100 is just normal. Are all these people sitting around discussing their world-changing vocations?
Not at all. And that's where the linguistic breakdown of the word itself is so revealing. In Japanese, iki simply means life.
Okay, life.
And gei just means to be worthwhile. That is the entire definition.
Wait, really? Just life to be worthwhile?
Yeah. It translates roughly to the happiness of always being busy or, honestly, just having a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Notice that there is zero mention of a paycheck or a career trajectory or, saving the world. It's entirely internal.
Which completely shatters that Western Venn diagram.
It really does. And when researchers study these centenarians in Okimi, they run into this fascinating cultural fact. In Japanese, there isn't really a word for retire.
Wait, no word for retire at all?
Not in the sense of leaving the workforce permanently, at least not the way we understand it in English. The whole concept of stopping your life's work just because you hit age 65, it just doesn't exist there.
That's crazy to think about.
You simply keep doing what you care about for as long as your health allows.
If you think about the traditional Western concept of retirement, it's essentially treated like crossing a marathon finish line and just collapsing.
Yes. That's exactly it.
You spend 40 years running this grueling, exhausting race, and then you just stop moving entirely. You hit the recliner. But the Okinawan approach to lifelong purpose sounds more like changing the tires while the car is still driving.
I love that image.
Like you might slow down, you might shift the rhythm of your day, but the engine is always running.
Spot on. And biologically, keeping that engine running is crucial for cognitive health. But it forces us to ask a much deeper psychological question. If your life's purpose isn't about reaching an age where you can finally stop working, and it isn't about some grand career, how do we psychologically uncover what makes our lives worthwhile right now?
Right. How do you find that engine?
Well, the authors point to two distinct psychological frameworks that help people find their why, starting with Viktor Frankl's logotherapy.
Logotherapy. Frankl was the psychiatrist who survived Auschwitz, right?
He was, yeah. And his experiences in the camps profoundly shaped his approach to psychology. Logotherapy is heavily contrasted with traditional psychoanalysis.
How so?
Think about traditional psychoanalysis. The patient lies back on a couch, looking backward at the past, right? analyzing old traumas and neuroses to figure out why they're unhappy.
All right, diving into childhood stuff?
Exactly. Logotherapy flips that entirely. The patient sits up straight and looks to the future. The therapist actively helps the patient discover a conscious why to live for. Frankl argued that human beings aren't primarily driven by the pursuit of pleasure. We are driven by the pursuit of purpose and meaning.
The book shares a really intense case study about this, right? Can you walk us through how logotherapy actually works in practice?
Absolutely. Frankl treated a mother who had been admitted to his clinic after attempting to take her own life, and she had intended to take her 2 sons with her.
Oh my God.
Yeah. One of her sons had died at age 11, leaving her in absolute despair. But it was her other son, who had been paralyzed since birth, who actually stopped her. He still believed his life had purpose despite his paralysis.
Wow. How do you even begin to treat that level of grief as a therapist?
Frankl used a specific logotherapy technique. He had the mother imagine herself on her deathbed, looking back on a hypothetical long life where she was old, perhaps wealthy, but completely childless. He asked her how she would feel.
Okay.
The woman realized that in that scenario, her life would have felt empty, like a complete failure. Then he had her look at her actual life, caring for her paralyzed son, doing everything in her power to give him a good life.
And that changed things completely. Suddenly, her perspective shifted. She realized her life was incredibly full of profound meaning because she had devoted it to her son. The therapy didn't change a single thing about her difficult, tragic circumstances. It just changed the lens through which she interpreted her purpose within them.
So the circumstances stay exactly the same, but the internal narrative shifts from, I am suffering to I have a vital job to do.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
But the authors contrast this Western approach with a Japanese framework called Morita therapy. And honestly, looking over the notes for this one, I have to push back a bit.
Go for it. What stands out to you?
Well, almost all Western self-help is relentlessly focused on conquering negative emotions. We are taught to manage our anxiety, control our anger, and fight off our sadness with, positive affirmations.
Very true.
But Morita therapy seems to say we shouldn't try to control our emotions at all. How does just blindly accepting misery or anxiety actually help someone find their life's purpose? It honestly just sounds like giving up.
It's a completely understandable reaction. Shoma Morita, he was the Zen Buddhist and psychotherapist who developed this. He actually answered that exact critique using a fable about a donkey.
A donkey.
Yeah. Imagine a donkey tied to a wooden post by a rope. Something spooks the donkey, it panics, and it tries to run away. But because it's tied up, it just keeps walking in circles around the post, pulling desperately against the rope.
Oh, and because it's walking in circles, the rope keeps wrapping around the post. It's getting shorter and shorter.
Precisely. The harder the donkey pulls to escape, the tighter the rope gets, until the animal is completely trapped and immobilized against the wood. Morita argued that human emotions operate exactly the same way.
So the anxiety is the rope.
Right. When you feel anxiety and your immediate reaction is, I have to escape this feeling, you start obsessing over the anxiety. You try to analyze it, control it, or fight it. And just like the donkey, your obsessive struggle is what actually immobilizes you. Morita taught that you don't create your feelings, they just happen to you, like a sudden rainstorm.
So you just sit in the rain, you don't open an umbrella?
In the very beginning of the therapy, yes, you literally just sit in it.
Really?
Yeah. The first phase of Morita therapy involves a strict isolation phase.
Yeah.
For 5 to 7 days, the patient is placed in a room without any external stimuli. No books, no television, no talking, no distractions at all.
Just staring at a wall?
Pretty much. They just rest and observe their thoughts. They let the absolute worst waves of emotion and anxiety wash over them.
That sounds like torture. Why would a therapist do that?
Because eventually, the brain simply gets bored. The intense, agonizing desire to escape the anxiety peaks, and then it inevitably fades. Once that panic breaks, the patient moves on to light, repetitive tasks. Writing in a diary, walking outside, and eventually things like chopping wood or painting. The core philosophy here is that purpose is found through action, not through intellectualizing your feelings. You accept the anxiety is there, you say hello to it, but you go chop the wood anyway.
I see where this is heading. So once you stop wasting all your energy fighting the rope, you have the capacity to actually do something.
Exactly.
But that leads to the next big question. Once you've accepted your emotions and you decide to take action, what exactly are you doing? How do you act in a way that generates that feeling of Ikigai?
According to the sources, you achieve it by entering a psychological state called flow. This is how the Japanese practice Ikigai on a daily, almost microscopic level.
Flow.
Yeah. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi coined the term. Flow is that deeply immersive state where you are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter.
I think we've all felt that fleetingly, right? Like when you're reading a great book and suddenly 3 hours have passed. But what is actually happening in the brain?
The psychological mechanism is fascinating. During flow, your sense of time completely vanishes, and more importantly, your ego dissolves into the task.
Your ego dissolves.
Yeah. You are no longer thinking about past regrets or future anxieties. You are hyper-focused on the immediate present. The book highlights the Takumi, the master artisans of Japan, as the ultimate living examples of this.
The source material has some incredible stories about these artisans.
They really do. There is a story about a Toyota factory where they have these specific artisan experts who are the only people in the world who know how to make a particular type of screw by hand.
Just a screw. That's amazing.
Right. Or take Yukio Shakunaga, a master porcelain maker in Japan. He was so incredibly skilled at finding his flow state while working with clay that he caught the attention of Steve Jobs.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, Jobs actually visited him, asked a million questions about his creative process, and eventually commissioned him to create a new style of teacup.
And Shakunaga didn't just make a cup and send an invoice, right?
No, he went into his studio and made 150 different teacups, just endlessly testing out ideas, completely lost in the flow of creation. Out of those 150, he picked the 12 absolute best ones to sell the Jobs.
That is dedication.
And that level of intense dedication isn't driven by the goal of making a fortune. It's driven purely by the joy of the process itself.
It reminds me of the story about Hayao Miyazaki, the legendary director of Studio Ghibli.
Oh, yes.
He officially retired, but his drive to animate his Ikigai was just so deeply ingrained in him. He showed up to the animation studio the very next day and just sat down in a corner to draw.
He couldn't stay away.
He literally couldn't stop himself. But here's the thing. Trying to achieve that kind of deep, uninterrupted focus seems nearly impossible today. There is a massive modern enemy to this flow state.
You're talking about the multitasking epidemic.
Yeah.
It is the absolute killer of flow. We live in a culture that praises multitasking, thinking that doing 3 things at once saves time. But biologically, our brains are not parallel processors.
We can't do it all at once?
No, we cannot focus on 2 complex tasks simultaneously. What we are actually doing is rapid task switching, jerking our attention back and forth.
The sources cite some pretty alarming statistics on this from Stanford University, right?
Yeah. Yes. The Stanford study showed that multitasking actually lowers productivity by 60%.
60%, that's huge.
It is. But the scariest part is the cognitive toll. Rapidly switching your attention can temporarily drop your IQ by more than 10 points.
Wait, really?
Yes. You are literally making yourself less intelligent in the moment by trying to do everything at once.
It's essentially like trying to cook a massive 5-course meal using only one single frying pan.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Like you throw in some chicken, cook it for 10 seconds, pull it out, throw in some pasta, pull it out, throw in some vegetables. You don't end up with a feast, you just end up with a pan full of burnt mush.
Exactly.
You have to let one dish cook, you have to give one task your full attention to reach flow.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. But it's also important to realize that mental flow and psychological purpose don't exist in a vacuum. Sustaining that level of deep focus requires massive amounts of neurological energy. You cannot pursue your Ikigai if your physical body and your community are feeling you.
Right, which brings us back to Okinawa. The centenarians there have a highly specific physical and social infrastructure that keeps their Ikigai engine fueled. Let's talk about the physical foundation first, because their diet is legendary. There is a famous Okinawan phrase, harahachibu.
Yes, the 80% secret. It's a cultural practice where they eat until their stomachs are 80% full, intentionally stopping before they feel completely stuffed.
Why does that matter so much biologically? Like, why not just eat until you're full?
It comes down to metabolic load and cellular aging. Digesting food requires an enormous amount of energy, and the process creates free radicals and oxidative stress as byproducts. By constantly overeating, we accelerate cellular aging and exhaust our digestive systems.
So they just eat less overall.
Considerably less. The Okinawans eat an average of 1,785 calories a day, compared to over 2,000 in the rest of Japan, and significantly more in the West. By stopping at 80%, they provide the body with all the nutrients it needs without overloading the system.
And it's not just the restricted calories, it's the sheer variety. A study in the book showed they eat 206 different foods regularly, averaging 18 different foods in a single day.
It's an incredible nutritional profile. Their staples include tofu, sweet potatoes, and a highly nutritious antioxidant-rich citrus fruit called shikuwasa. They also drink about 3 cups of sanpincha, which is a blend of jasmine and green tea, every single day.
And they have this brilliant psychological hack for portion control. They serve their meals on 5 small plates arranged on a tray.
Right.
Visually, it tricks the brain into feeling like you are sitting down to a massive, varied feast, which leaves you feeling completely satisfied with far fewer calories.
Exactly. And they pair this low-stress diet with low-stress movement. You won't find centenarians in Ogimi going to the gym and lifting heavy weights to exhaustion. They incorporate gentle, constant movement into their daily routines.
Like what?
Every morning, a huge percentage of the population practices radio taiso, which is a routine of warm-up calisthenics broadcast on the radio.
Even residents in wheelchairs participate, focusing on moving their upper bodies.
Yes, because the goal isn't muscle hypertrophy. It's mobility, joint lubrication, and most importantly, synchronized community activity. They pair this with other gentle movements like Tai Chi or Qigong.
So this brings up a massive question for me.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I am listening to this, and I go to the grocery store today, and I buy the perfect sweet potatoes, the shikuwasa, and the jasmine tea, I eat exactly 18 foods a day on 5 little plates, stopping at 80% full.
Doing everything right.
Right. But I do all of this completely alone, locked in a studio apartment in a massive city, staring at a computer screen. Am I getting the benefits? Is the secret the chemical value of the food, or is there something else?
The researchers are very clear on this. If you do that in isolation, you are largely missing the point and negating many of the biological benefits.
Yeah.
The real fuel behind their longevity is the social foundation, something they call moai.
What exactly is a moai?
It is an informal group of people with common interests who look out for one another. It acts as an absolute emotional and financial safety net.
Financial, too.
Yeah. Members pay a set monthly contribution, and they use those funds for meetings, dinners, or games like shogi. But crucially, if someone in the group falls into real financial or personal trouble, they receive an advance from the group's collective savings.
So you inherently know that you will never be allowed to completely fail.
Exactly. And the biological impact of that security is profound. Human beings are incredibly susceptible to chronic stress, which floods the body with cortisol.
And cortisol is terrible for us long term.
Right. Constant cortisol exposure damages our cardiovascular system and ages our cells prematurely. The absolute security of knowing your moai have your back, knowing that you are loved, supported, and financially protected, it virtually eliminates that chronic baseline stress.
That makes total sense.
The 18 foods keep the physical machine running, but the community is the reason the body wants to keep the machine running in the first place.
Okay, but let's be realistic here. Even with the most nutrient-dense diet and the most supportive moai in the world, life is still going to throw devastating curveballs.
Of course.
People get sick. Natural disasters destroy homes. Physical aging and the loss of ability are inevitable. How does a person's ikigai survive severe trauma?
The Japanese have a profound cultural framework for navigating exactly this, starting with the concept of wabi-sabi. This is the philosophy of finding beauty in the flawed, the impermanent, and the incomplete.
Like the classic image of repairing a cracked teacup with gold.
Precisely. Instead of demanding perfection from the world or from your own body, you find beauty in the weathering. It teaches us that our own aging, our wrinkles, and our physical limitations are natural and beautiful, not failures to be hidden.
And the sources pair that with another concept, Ichigo Ichii, which translates roughly to, this moment exists only now and won't come again.
It's beautiful.
It really is. It's a reminder to stop agonizing over a past that you cannot change and stop panicking about a future that hasn't arrived yet.
Yes, and if we take those two concepts, accepting imperfection and living strictly in the present moment, we can connect them to a very modern framework for surviving trauma. The concept of anti-fragility, which was coined by the author Nassim Nicholas Taleb.
Anti-fragility, how does that differ from just being resilient?
Taleb points out a flaw in our language. We have words for things that are fragile, like glass cup that shatters when you drop it. And we have words for things that are resilient, things that withstand a shock and stay exactly the same. Well, what do you call a system that actually gets stronger when it is harmed or stressed?
Like the Hydra from mythology. You cut off one head and 2 grow back.
Right.
So to use an everyday analogy, resilience is essentially a plastic cup. You drop it off a table, it hits the floor, it doesn't shatter like glass, it survives the fall, but it's still just the exact same plastic cup. It didn't improve. Anti-fragility, on the other hand, is like human muscle. When you go to the gym and lift heavy weights, you put intense stress on the tissue, you literally cause micro tears in the muscle fibers. But when it heals, the body overcompensates. It grows back thicker and stronger than it was before the trauma.
That is exactly it. And Taleb suggests we must apply this concept to our daily lives to protect our Ikigai. He uses a financial rule as an example. Put 90% of your energy or your money into completely safe, conservative bets. Then take many small, wild risks with the remaining 10%, like investing a tiny amount in 10 different volatile startups.
Okay, I follow.
If the startups fail, you survive easily because your 90% is completely safe. But if just one explodes in value, you benefit massively from the chaos.
How do you apply a financial rule to your life's purpose, though?
By creating redundancies. Don't rely on just one single income stream, one single hobby, or one single friend. If your entire identity and Ikigai is tied to your job, what happens when the company downsizes? You shatter.
That is so true.
Applying anti-fragility means having multiple passions, multiple friend groups, and varied interests. When chaos hits one area of your life, the other areas keep you emotionally stable, and the disruption might actually push you to grow stronger in a completely new direction.
So, synthesizing everything we've talked about today, from Viktor Frankl's future-focused therapy to letting go of the donkey's rope, finding flow, eating our sweet potatoes, and building our moai.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. So let's go right back to the central question we asked at the very beginning of this deep dive. Is Ikigai overrated?
If we're talking about the hyper-commercialized, westernized version of it, that stressful pressure to find a million-dollar startup idea that perfectly aligns with your deepest spiritual passion and saves the world, then yes, absolutely.
It's a myth.
That version is highly overrated, and it is a recipe for burnout.
But the real Ikigai, the one actually practiced by the centenarians in Okinawa, that isn't overrated at all because it's so beautifully ordinary.
Ordinary is the perfect word.
Real Ikigai isn't necessarily a massive corporate mission. It is planting tomatoes in your backyard. It is doing radio taisa with your neighbors in the morning, even if you are just moving your arms in a wheelchair.
Okay.
It's taking the time to make a perfect cup of jasmine tea, finding your flow in a simple task, and building a life robust enough to be anti-fragile when things go wrong. It's just having a good, simple reason to get out of bed.
I couldn't agree more. It's about stripping away the pressure to be globally important and embracing the daily, active pursuit of whatever brings you joy and connection right now.
I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to ponder today. We talked about the Japanese philosophy of Ichigo Ichii, which teaches us that every single encounter is unique, and this exact moment will never, ever happen again.
Such a powerful idea.
It is. But how is our modern culture preventing us from truly experiencing the present? We live in a world where everything is recorded on a smartphone, everything is instantly replayable, and everything is endlessly scrollable. If we are always looking at a digital recording instead of the physical reality in front of us, are our smartphones actually stealing our ability to find our Ikigai?
The irony is that the very technology designed to keep us endlessly connected might be the exact thing untethering us from the physical present moments that give life its real texture.
Exactly. Maybe we don't need a mystical Venn diagram after all. Maybe we just need to put the phone down, step outside, and wave at a neighbor. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for listening, and we wish you a long, happy, and purposeful life. Take care.